Um, so this particular topic was one that I had really been wanting to share, but it didn't feel quite the right time. But marketing is so important right now, and trying to take advantage of free marketing as best you can, where you don't have to spend your dollars to engage with your customers, is going to be incredibly critical. So I asked Bridget if she could give us some expertise on how small businesses can do little steps to continue to improve the communication with new customers and potentially, or with loyal customers and potentially new customers. So we're going to learn a lot today. I'm going to learn along right beside you, but I hope you learn a lot. I think Bridget is going to, oh yeah, it is recording. So we'll have this for you and the slide deck for you. But if you have any questions throughout this, you can ask them in the chat. And if you have questions afterward, you know where to reach me. So I'll pass it over to Bridget. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. And like you said, thank you so much for having me here. This is exactly what I love to do. I love helping small businesses. I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I've worked with a lot of small business owners. So believe me when I say I really get it. I can't say that I have weathered something like what we are all weathering right now together. So I did want to just start with sort of a caveat, which is I think a lot of marketers and people like me will talk about marketing as though it is sort of the end all. It will save everything. It solves all our problems. I want to be super sensitive to the fact that this is a very different time. Marketing will not solve all of our problems. I truly understand all of the challenges that all of you business owners are going through. So please know that I don't think this is a silver bullet. This is actually a philosophy that I feel really strongly about in my own business, which is why I don't only provide marketing consultation. I really like to look at the whole business holistically and solve problems that way. So know that anything that we go over today is not meant to, it's not meant to imply that it will fix everything, but it is truly small, actionable steps, most of which are free, that I think can really help right now. So with that, let's just dig into it. Here's a few things that we'll be going over today. Like Rachel said, don't worry too much about taking every note down. There's a lot of copy in this deck, and that's because it was designed to send out to you afterwards. So you'll have all of this text on your own after the fact. You'll also have that recording. So just take a note. Even if you have tech issues, take a note of what time it is, and that way you can skim back in the recording to see what you missed, or to just revisit any slide that you need to. So today we're going to go over why digital marketing in particular is so important, especially for stores that have physical spaces, which seems counterintuitive. We're going to talk about how consumers have changed over the past few years, and particularly over the past few months. I've been doing a ton of research and surveys and studies around how consumer behavior is going to change when we're fully reopened. And there's some insights that I'd love to share with you all so you can be prepared for those changes. We're going to talk about a basic phased plan for gaining new customers and how to keep your existing ones. So this starts to affect everything in terms of, there's less foot traffic right now in some of our more urban areas like DuPont Circle where I live, less foot traffic there. It becomes really, really important to keep those customers that you have that love you, that are sort of in that loyalty and advocacy phase of their love cycle with you. Versus spending tons and tons of money on acquiring new customers, which is really expensive. So we'll talk about all of that. And then we are going to talk about the different digital platforms and tools that you can use during each phase of that customer love cycle that I call it. Again, this is where we're going to go through all the social platforms, your website, email marketing, but I don't want you to get overwhelmed. I want you to just see what resonates with you, see what makes sense for your customer, and implement some things, but definitely not all. So first, a few notes. I did just want to say thank you again.
Excuse me, Bridget, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sally is waiting to get in the meeting. If you could let her in, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
No worries.
I apologize. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me know. Let's see here. There's Sally, and we've got Debbie as well. Welcome to our newcomers. Apologies for that. I wasn't keeping an eye on the waiting room. So just make sure that you guys can see my screen. and we'll dive back in. So the thank yous that I wanted to give really quickly, Rachel, thank you so much from Georgetown Main Street, the Department for Small and Local Business Development for making this possible. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you all, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So who the heck am I? Who is this weirdo sitting in front of you all? My name is Bridget. Hello. My company's name is Reagan, which is my last name. And that has a lot of meaning for me in terms of my own brand story, because my family has lived in DC for a really long time. And ever since I was a little girl, I've always looked up to my aunts and uncles because they contributed to the city in really big ways. And I always thought it was so cool to live in a place where you're really building it up around you. My aunt built GW Hospital. My uncle worked on the waterfront in Georgetown, the Pennsylvania Avenue renovation. They're really into architecture, which I just thought was the coolest thing. And it's always been my dream to sort of move back to DC and help in the ways that I know best, which is branding and marketing. I've been doing this for quite a long time. I just dyed all my gray hairs out of a box last night. So that's why you can't see all of my grays from all these years in marketing. But I've been working a lot with big brands. I work with Google and Amazon, but over the years, like I said, what I love the most is working with small businesses, because I believe that that is where real change can happen at the community level. I think big brands are amazing when they can provide funding and help create shifts in policies. I think business is more powerful than government a lot of the times, but it's really small businesses that I want to help, because I think that together we can make a really big impact on our communities at the ground level. So what I do is work with small business owners like yourselves and startups, talk about business models, making sure that it's defensible, profitable. We talk about things like positioning, like are we going after the right customer in the right time, as well as marketing strategy, which we'll talk about today, and then brand strategy, which is a lot of what is your unique story. The more unique and different you can be, the more you'll stand out in your customer's mind, and the more that they will keep coming back to you and developing that loyalty. If you want to learn more about me, you can visit my website. I won't bore you with any more about me. So let's get into it. We're going to talk for about 60 minutes, give or take, and then we will have as much time as needed for Q&A at the end. So if it works for you guys, I would just ask that you hold your questions until the end, where we can type them in the chat if that works for you. But like I said, I'm happy to go back to any slide if needed, and we can revisit it during the question and answer session. So a little bit more specifically, the things that we'll talk about today: who is that new consumer? How have people changed since we've all been in our caves for 3 months now? Digital marketing strategy, what is it? And then sort of what are those phases of the customer life cycle, which are listed here: discover, learn, invest, and love, or loyalty. And then in the end, I have some sample digital marketing plans for you that you can screenshot, you can download onto your computer, and you can just fill them out. And that is really my reminder at the end that even if you don't retain anything through this whole presentation, marketing can be really, really super simple. It's just knowing who you're talking to and what they want at any given time. So, and then we'll have the Q&A at the end. The new consumer. Who is this person that's emerging from their cave? First of all, I think it's good to level set about what our understanding of marketing is and digital marketing. So in really simple terms, to me, marketing is being in the right place at the right time for the right people. And the way that I really like to look at it is starting with the person, starting with my customer, figuring out what they want, sort of digging into their psychology a little bit, and then making sure that I'm giving them what they want at the right time. So what is digital marketing then? It's doing all of that online, which means that unless you sort of have some understanding of who your customer is and your objective for that customer, whether it's to come back and make another purchase, to sign up for your email list, to visit your website, whatever that objective is, and a plan to get them from point A to point B, then really anything that you're doing online or not doing online is kind of random. So we want to move you from a place of either hands-off, whatever's going on online for your business, or sort of random strategies, to just having a little bit of a plan of what's going on online. And the reason for that is that regardless of whether you think you're running an online business, you are running one, because your consumers are talking about your business online. You know that they're on Yelp. A lot of them are on Twitter tweeting about your business, hopefully all good. But my point here is that even if you're not spending a ton of time controlling your online message, that means that your audience, your consumer, your customer is really controlling the message themselves, which we don't want. We want to have a little bit of agency in what people are saying about us, and that's what we'll talk about today. So just a little bit about the landscape, since I did have this research from some other clients, and I think it's really interesting about what it's going to be like when we return back to the physical stores. I wanted to start with some good news. People want to go back. That's across all age groups, you guys. So over half of the respondents in this particular study said that they do intend to return to physical shops either immediately, very quickly, or quite quickly. And you can see in the chart on the right that that's pretty much across all age groups, Gen Z through baby boomers. Everyone is really looking to get back. There are sort of two different waves. We'll see those early adopters, which is the dark orange here. It's called the first wave. They're a little bit less cautious. Those are the people that are already kind of getting into your restaurants. They're the ones that are excited to sit out on the sidewalk to have drinks or whatever. And then there's the second wave that are watching the first wave to see how it goes. They're watching the businesses to see what kind of safety precautions are happening. But across the board, if you take nothing else from this, know that people are excited to come back. But here's where the shift sort of happens. When they come back, the shopping behavior will be different. We do know from the data that people are no longer going to be making impulse purchases as they walk around the store. Some still will, of course, but for the most part, I don't want you to be relying on those people that sort of just leisurely come into the shop without something in mind and make that impulse purchase, especially the more pricey impulse purchases. What we're seeing instead is that people will be more cautious with their money. A big sort of call out here that I have in the tip is if you're a seller of non-essential goods, or for example, most restaurants I think would be considered non-essential goods because eating out can be a luxury. We're gonna have to find ways to make our products and services seem like essentials. We can definitely talk about that more. That gets a lot into your brand strategy, but it's not gonna work anymore to simply say that, we're a luxury restaurant or we're a luxury gift shop. We're gonna have to find ways to talk about our products and services so that they do feel really important and needed right now, which they are. I truly believe that in terms of the customer experience. And then just, the note that I sort of alluded to earlier, we have less foot traffic in general in Georgetown and in DuPont Circle and in Logan Circle. So we need to, outside of the pandemic, we need to start finding ways to account for less foot traffic and those lower sales per square foot. And that's a big part of where digital marketing can come in for us. Again, end goal is to get those returning customers to be buying from us again or eating at our restaurants again, because that's a much cheaper customer to maintain than the brand new customer. Enter digital marketing. 46% of people say that they will actually be shopping online more after the outbreak is over. So that doesn't mean instead of going into the stores, like we learned on the last couple slides, they will still be coming into the stores, but they're gonna be online even more than in the past, which is wild because we know that people spend a lot of time online. 1 in 4 people, 25%, say that they'll be researching or browsing more items online before they come into your store. So if you don't have an online presence that at least talks about, let's say, your menu for a restaurant or your products, you're not allowing the customer to have that initial research phase, so they may never come into your shop to begin with. Lastly, 22% of people say that they'll be buying more things online for in-store pickup. This is really interesting because it keeps coming up in all of the research that I've been doing. And it's sort of surprising for me because I don't think I'm this type of shopper, but everyone wants to buy things online and then pick them up in person. That compared to something like DoorDash, where it comes straight to your door from a restaurant, people are very, very willing to come themselves to pick it up. I'm still digging into sort of the psychology behind that, why it is. It could be the safety measures of not having that interaction with a delivery person at the door. But I think it's really interesting and a really great thing to get people into our stores. So again, digital marketing is not only going to help us right now, it's going to help us in the long term. I want all of you to be able to take vacations and step away from the business and not have the business close. You know, we don't know if COVID is going to come back in the fall. It sounds pretty likely that it will to some extent. We might have to shut our doors again. We don't want our entire business to shut down. If we start a little bit of digital marketing right now, whether it's just a couple social channels or just start doing an email and that's it, our business will endure essentially anything. And I want you to be able to take a vacation. So that said, I know that you are very busy. I'm so grateful that you found time for even this quick little webinar. So I always like to provide just sort of some guidelines to level set and to make sure that we're not taking on more than we have to, like I said, because there's a lot of content that we're going to go over. So first and foremost, please know that we need to leave perfection behind. Please don't think you need to do anything online perfectly. If you need to just get a social post out and it's not looking too great, just get it out. Don't worry about it. Do the best you can. Done is better than perfect. Ask for help. There are folks like me that would love to help you. There's people in your community that would love to help you. You have family members that would love to help you that have a ton of knowledge. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Number 3 is hard. Keep working on your business, not just in your business. This is something that I always say to small business owners because it becomes so easy to get wrapped up in those day-to-day tactics, you know, getting really ground level and granular just to get things done because you know your business better than anybody. But it's really important to sort of always step back, take that leadership role. You are the one that has the vision for where this business is going. You manage the operation. So don't forget that it's okay to step back, give the reins to other people for those smaller tasks that you can train them on, but really maintain your leadership role. You are the CEO of your business, and if no one else is in that big picture role, then the business is going to drive itself. And then lastly, remember to get connected. This is a really hard one for me as an introvert. When I go to parties, I'm the person that stands in the corner until someone comes and has a friendly smile. So it's really important though to remember that we need to be connected for our businesses. So for example, all of you on this call, you are a network and a community, and all of the efforts that each of you does can really have a halo effect, a ripple effect for one another. It's important to have these relationships and partnerships, and even in a really tactical way, you know, coming together for things like in-person events, farmers markets, street festivals, all of those things are really powerful ways to amplify all of your efforts and sort of do, you know, a 2 + 2 = 5 kind of thing. And then lastly, my little tip here is don't think of digital marketing as doing more. Think of it just as sharing more of what you're already doing. You're already doing really cool things behind the scenes, creating new products, finding new scents for perfume, making new recipes in your restaurants. Just share more of it. That's all it is. It's that simple. Digital marketing strategy. We're going to stay really high level here, not get too deep into it. First, we're going to talk about the new sales funnel and an apology from me on behalf of marketers everywhere because we led you astray in the past about what the sales funnel was. I'm going to make reparations right now. And then we'll talk about that 4-step sort of digital marketing strategy that's really important. Not just in your marketing, but really in everything you do in your business. So on the right is the new sales funnel. We'll talk about that in a second. On the left is my apology, which is marketers used to advise business owners that essentially there was a 3-part sales process. People become aware of your business or service. They have some kind of nebulous consideration process where they're learning and deciding. And then they convert, and then it's done. And that's really what marketers taught for a long time before we realized what I've been mentioning earlier, which is that person that has converted and has come into your restaurant once or has bought from you once is your most valuable opportunity for marketing. So that's everything that you see on the right below that yellow purchase line. All of those things are places where your money goes farther because you're no longer trying to acquire a new customer. It's where those customers will tell other people how much they love you. All of that is where you take your profit margin and you just slowly, slowly grow it, okay? With that in mind, I do want to say, outside of, you know, the way we used to think about it as marketers and the way that we do now, I think it is really important to understand that a sales funnel is not something that we're pushing a customer through. This isn't us behind them, sort of shoving them on the back, like towards these different steps until they convert or until they become loyal. Really, all of our marketing is providing our audience with what they want when they want it. And that shift is not just on paper. It's really a mindset shift where when you realize that your customer wants something from you, you're no longer selling to them, you're educating them. You know, you're no longer asking them to sign up for your email list that they don't want to be on. They want that content, and you just need to make it much easier for them to get it. And I think that mindset shift really opens a lot of doors. I use this methodology not just in marketing, but in business strategy as well, where you really design your business and your positioning for what your customer wants. The brand love method is sort of what I call this. This is just a really quick note on how to sort of think about all the pieces coming together. So if we were to start with your brand values, let's say you are a restaurant that cares about local organic food. Those are your brand values there in the middle. That ladders upstream, so to the left, into your internal messaging, the way that you talk with your employees about what you do, into your business operations, where you're sourcing local produce. You can also take that same message to the right. Talk about local produce in your external messaging. Talk about what you're doing in your brand tactics. Support local farmers, things like that. So this is really just a visual. Don't worry about it too much, but it really ties everything together in terms of your business on the left, the whole way to your marketing on the right, all connected. All right, here's the meat, you guys. So that big funnel with all those steps, there's like 15 steps. I really wanted to give you an opportunity to distill it down as simple as possible. These are the steps that I would love for you to learn and to think about. They are discover or discovery. It's that phase when your customer is learning that you exist. Learn, which is they want to learn more about you. They already know you exist and they've discovered you. Now they want to learn about what you're doing, your products or services. Invest. That's when your customer is ready to make some kind of commitment, whether it be money in terms of a sale or a conversion, or investing some kind of time. It could be signing up for your email and investing the time to actually read it. And then love, that happens after your customer's made that first commitment, that investment. That's when they want to support you. You could really interchange the words love and support here. This is the most valuable customer that we have. This is the one that comes back, that we've acquired. We spent all of that time and money on in those first 3 steps, and we really need to give them what they need in this love phase so that they tell other people about us. And so that, again, we can make back that profit margin. So in Discover, our goal is really just make sure that new people can find us. That's it. So that's what we'll talk about in that phase. When they're in the learning phase, we want to make sure that people have the info, that they can find the info that they're trying to find. What is our menu? Do we use sustainable materials in our shoes, whatever it might be. When they're in the invest stage, we want to make sure that it's super, super easy for them to invest that time. We need to have call to action buttons all across our website. It should not be more than 2 clicks for someone to make an online sale if you are doing online sales. It should not be more than 2 clicks for someone to sign up for your email newsletter. That all of those things are making it more difficult for someone to invest in you. And then in the love phase, this is all about your story. This is all about telling them all the things that you do that make you amazing so that they can share that story with others. And the reason that we know this works in a really quantitative way is because people form emotional connections with stories. They don't form emotional connections with shoes or with a plated meal. It's really the story behind it that becomes emotional for someone and gets them to tell other people. And again, that's our really most valuable customer. So we'll start with this discover phase. How the heck can we just make sure that people can find us? There's some really simple stuff we can do, you guys. So the first step here, and again, like all of this will be sent to you, so don't worry about taking down all the bullets. The first step, have a website, just have one, you know? Don't worry if it's amazing, just have a website, have an online presence. We'll talk about in social as well, just having a Facebook page, even if you can really not spend a ton of time on it. 75% of people judge a company's credibility by its website design. And your website is your online storefront. You know, you have to exist there. You have to have something there that shows that you exist in your neighborhood and where you are, and that you relatively keep it updated. You know, if you have a menu from 10 years ago on your website, then people will question if you're still open. So just having that presence is really, really important. Now, I know people have really different opinions on websites and who to use to build them. Across the board, my favorite for this particular type of audience, so like small businesses, restaurants, small service businesses, retail, I love Squarespace. So if you're trying to decide which one to go with, I would go with Squarespace. It's incredibly easy. You can hire someone to set it up for you, or you can do it yourself. It's very, very simple. It's drag and drop. So you would log in, you pull images in, and you can just drag them around where you want them. You don't have to know code. Super, super simple. So I really love it. And the screenshot that I have here shows all of the templates that you get. So you can just choose one of these. You don't have to design it yourself. You can use stock imagery if you need to. It's already set up. So for example, if you choose, here I have restaurants selected in the menu. You can just choose an existing restaurant template that already has menus built into it. You just replace the copy with yours. Crazy simple. I put some pricing in here. This is just for Squarespace, so it varies a little bit depending on if you use Wix or WordPress. But for Squarespace, it's just $18 a month for a basic business website. And then if you do need to sell products and services online, it's $26 a month. And that's it. And that's, you know, don't worry about hosting. You do your website URL straight through Squarespace, all in one place. It'll actually even send emails for you guys. So that's why I love Squarespace. And no, I am not being paid to promote them right now, but I wish I was. The next really easy thing that we can do is claim our Google listing. It's either called a Google Business listing or a Google My Business listing. Super simple. 93% of the time, people find your website by Googling it. Google loves itself, and I can say that firsthand because I have worked for Google as a client. Google treats businesses better that love it back. If you are using keywords on your website that we'll talk about in a second, if you use sort of their tools and things to make sure that your website has a presence, they will reward you by serving up your website online when you have those things. So for example, Google My Business is really just a profile that you go to google.com/business. If you don't have a Google account yet, you just follow the steps to sign up for one. So if you have Gmail, you have a Google account, for example. If you don't use Gmail, if you don't use Docs or Slides or anything, you would just go to google.com/business, set up your Google account with your business email address. Then you would follow the steps to either claim your business or create one. And I did not screenshot all of the steps, but I promise you it's very, very simple. All of Google's web pages are really simple and sort of color-coded, big text, really easy to follow. But essentially, it's telling Google, I have a business. It's called Martin's Tavern. Yes, it exists. And yes, you can send me a postcard to my address, my physical address, to confirm that I exist. That's really all we're doing here. And then in effect, what that process does for us is anytime someone Googles, let's say here I Googled Italian food DC, anytime someone Googles that, Google will serve up the websites that have gone through this process. And it oftentimes will not serve up the websites that didn't go through the process. So in this example, Lupo Verde has a Google My Business account. DuPont Italian Kitchen, Obelisk, they all have Google My Business accounts. And we know personally that there's a lot of other Italian restaurants in this map view, but they're not showing up because they don't have Google My Business. So this is a really important one. I put this second on purpose, right behind having a website, because Google is the boss right now. So unfortunately, we need to make sure that we're on their good side, right? All right, so what else can we do to sort of trick the Google monster? We can tap into the minds of our customers with keywords. This goes back to really remembering that all we're trying to do is figure out what our customers want and make it really, really easy for them to get that thing. Keywords can mean a lot of different things for your business online. Keywords are phrases or words that people are searching for in Google. And if we have a lot of those keywords on our website will be shown to those people. That's all keywords are. Now you can put keywords in things like blog posts, in your website copy, in your social media copy. You can also put them in a little bit more detailed places like your metadata, which is essentially just, you know, when you open a million tabs on Google, like I have a million tabs open right now, that those words that are on the tab, that's metadata. So for me, for example, on my website, it says Reagan, marketing and brand strategy. And then it also says brand strategy for small businesses, DC. I have those keywords in there so that my website comes up more often. Don't worry too much about that right now. We're gonna keep it simple. So keywords also help a lot with local searches, which is really important for you guys. The big question here though is, how do I know what people are searching for? You know, I can kind of guess Italian food DC, but it's even better if we know one step below that what people are searching for. So the example that I have in here is wedding gowns. If I own a bridal shop, I would be curious to know if people are searching for wedding gowns or if they're searching for bridal gowns. And when I did this search, honestly, I had no idea. So that's where you go to this tool called Google Trends. The link is right here. It's trends.google.com. And that's where you can type in, you can sort of guess what your keywords might be, which is exactly what I did here as the pretend owner of a bridal shop. You just enter what you think your search term might be. So here I entered, okay, wedding gowns. I think people are searching for wedding gowns. And then you can enter another term if you want. Be like, well, actually, are they searching for bridal gowns? Like, which one is it? How do I know what keywords to use on my website? You just hit enter, you guys, and it'll tell you what people are searching for. So in this example, the blue line is for the wedding gowns keyword, and the red line is for bridal gowns. So over the past 12 months, many more people are searching for wedding gowns. So I would optimize my website for the former, the wedding gowns. That doesn't mean you can't use the terminology that people aren't searching for as much, but this is just a little super simple trick that you can use to really get in the minds of your customers. If you were to scroll down on this page that I have screenshotted here, it'll give you a list of other things that people are searching for too, which just add them to your list, you know, like put them in your blog posts, put them in your website copy. When I searched here, I believe I scrolled down and the list said things like value priced bridal gowns, for example. If you happen to run a value priced bridal gown store, that is a term that you would want to use. Unique bridal gowns, bridal gown trends, bridal shops in DC, all of those things, it'll just tell you what to use. So this is a free tool, 100%. You know, like I said, Google it's its own thing, so we need to be friends with it. But it does also just happen to have some really helpful user-friendly tools too. And I know I'm going really fast, so thanks for hanging in there, guys. Okay, this one I call it step 3.5 because I don't want you to think that this is super crazy important. Like I said, getting into all the metadata and, you know, all the different places we can put keywords. We don't need to really worry about that too much. It's just another note that keywords are important, and it's sort of another way that you can use them. So the screenshot here, this is just the basic Google dropdown. This is just me typing best place in Georgetown 2, and then Google auto-populates, auto-serves up all of these responses under it. And when it does that, they're not random. It serves up the things that people are searching for most often. So you can see one of the very tip top searches is best area in Georgetown to stay, period. So if I happen to run a boutique B&B in Georgetown, I might try and use that keyword because I know that that's what people are searching for. Best place in Georgetown for breakfast, on and on and on. So again, like we said, you can take these terms and just put them right in the copy of your website, put them in your menu, put them in your blog posts, or if you have a web developer or if you're comfortable yourself, you can add them into your metadata or your page titles. And if you have Squarespace, it's also really easy to do that. There's a section that just says add page title and you copy paste and that's it. One sort of little tip I have here that is a really super simple way to do this, especially for these more local searches. I use the example here, what are the best bike trails around DC? So I'm pretending that I own a bike rental shop in Georgetown. What I would do personally is put a page on my website called FAQs, frequently asked questions that customers ask me all the time. And I would put questions on that page that literally people are searching for. So if I believe based on Google Trends that people are searching for what are the best bike trails around DC, I would write that question on my FAQs page and then I would answer it, you know, authentically. Not only does this allow you to get that whole question on your website, which Google just loves when it sees that. It's like, this is the perfect result. I'm going to share this with everyone that Googles anything ever. Not only that, but it really sets you up as an authority in that space. Dick's Sporting Goods is not creating pages on their website that say, here's all the best local bike trails around DC. That is a huge advantage that small business owners have, that sort of local authority, knowing everything about your community, and it boosts your website in SEO. So that's my little tip for you. Since we're in discovery, we're going to talk a little bit about social media. We will talk much more about social media at the end of this presentation when we get to that love, that loyalty section, because I think that's where social media really shines, where you can tell your brand story. Right now, though, if people are just trying to discover us in this discover phase, they don't know that my restaurant exists. They don't know that my shop exists. It's sort of like having a website. You just need to have a social media account. Just set one up. Just have one. So the example that I screenshotted here is one of my clients right now, actually. It's called Shield Pals. And they make face shields that are, you know, there's characters on them for kids because the hospital is a really super scary thing and they wanted to make it a little bit more of a lighthearted experience for kids. They just started last month. They set up a Facebook page. They set up an Instagram account. They don't have tons of followers, but they just made sure that they had them and that they had their logo on both. That's sort of the level of just having, you know, a presence that we're talking about today. So if you don't have Facebook, if you don't have Instagram, I would set those up. The other platforms are sort of case by case, depending on who your audience is and if you have a specific niche. And we'll talk about that. I have them all on a slide for you side by side. But for now, set up these ones. People use social media in two ways. First of all, they follow you if someone else shares your content, sort of like a mental bookmark. I bet all of you do this, where if someone shares a really cool post in their story on Instagram, you might follow that account just as sort of like I'm going to check them out when I need XYZ. But then again, like I said, they also follow you after they've made a purchase because they just want more of your story. So that's where we'll talk more later. Let's see. So this whole discover phase, letting people know that we just exist online. How do we know it's working? How do we know that what we're doing is effective? You're going to see your website visitors increase. So if you do have access to your website analytics, your web developer might have that, or again, if you use something super simple like Squarespace, you'll be able to just see that your website visits are going up. That means more people are finding you. More people, when they come into your store, will mention that they found you online. So even that just verbal sort of confirmation in person is going to let you know that your discover efforts are working, your acquisition efforts per se. And then your fans and followers on social media will increase. I wouldn't expect these discover efforts to like show a skyrocket in social media follows. That's more in the love phase when people are really just like loving your story and what you're doing. but you will see an uptick in your followers, just as people realize you exist and make a mental note that they want to visit your shop or your restaurant. And that's discover, you guys. That's the whole first phase. So once people find you, they want to learn a little bit more about you. They might not do this right away, depending on what the type of purchase is. They might wait until they need that pair of sneakers or that gift for someone, and then they'll start investigating in your website. But they will come to the learn phase, and we need to be ready for them. So here's where we just need to make sure that the info that they want is available. Number one, optimize the most important pages of your website. Optimize can sound scary. It's not. It just means make sure they're not a wreck, okay? So this is where we need to make sure that, I'll call them the MVPs, the most valuable visited pages on your website, are looking pretty sharp and that they're updated and timely. So something I think is interesting is that if you run a restaurant, the first page people are always going to visit is home, but then they go to your menu page and then they go to about page. If you run a retail shop and you have a website, first they're going to go to home and then they go straight to about. So for restaurants, you have 3 MVPs that you need to make sure are updated, accurate, looking all right. And then for retail, it's really home and about that you need to make sure are great. The rest of them, I'm not saying, you know, make them trashy, but I know that you don't have a ton of time, so spend your time where it's most valuable. And that's on these sort of 5 pages. How do we do that? What do I mean by optimize? We want to use great photography on those web pages in particular. If you have a visually beautiful product, it's really easy to do. Even iPhones today in that portrait mode can even, you know, it makes my terrible cooking look half decent and edible. So use all of those tools that are free to you. Your menu, if you run a restaurant, this is a really, really important one, and it applies to other types of stores like retail as well. But make sure that your menu is never a PDF. I see this all the time and it drives me bonkers because it's really, really easy to fix. If you have a PDF, Google thinks it's an image. It doesn't know that it's text. And the fancy word for that is crawl. Google can't crawl a PDF that's on your website the way that it can crawl a web page. You probably have tried at some point to copy and paste text from a PDF onto, or from an image onto a web page, and you can't. That's because that text is no longer text. It's just part of the image, forever lost. So that's how it is for Google too. If they come across your menu and it's a PDF on your website, it's like it doesn't exist to them. So we always want our menu to be text that we've typed into our web page. That's another reason why Squarespace is great, because it is all text, super easy to update. So that way, if someone is searching on Google for best tiramisu in Georgetown, if you have that in your PDF menu, your website won't come up for that person. But if you have best tiramisu in Georgetown and it's on just a written menu, a typed text menu, you're going to come up. So even if you don't do it right now, I would definitely make that change in the near future. That goes for all PDFs, any text that you have on there, keywords are lost. And then on the About page, what's really, really important is telling an authentic story. Share a little bit behind the scenes. I put my screenshot here from my About page because I sort of shared a little bit of that story I was telling you guys just about why I love DC so much and small businesses. That's what people love. That's what makes people remember you, and they are visiting your About page right after your home page. So that's what they're looking for. Something I always say here though is if you can sort of make them feel like part of your story, that's always really great too. So, you know, anything that you can say that's what makes you special also makes their experience better. You know, we source the best ingredients from my grandma's farm because we care so much about our customers. People like that too. They do still want to know that they're top of mind and that you love serving the community. The reason I put the Martin's Tavern screenshot in here is because they did a really great job of sort of designing their menu. Theirs is not a PDF, which is great. It's just right on the website. And you can see really clearly breakfast, appetizers, the name of the product, the dish or whatever, the prices. It's all really super simple and easy to navigate. So that's as simple as it is in terms of like sort of cleaning up those MVP pages. Now we're going to talk about Amazon, the other big guy, and we're going to steal from them because Jeff Bezos is rich and there's a reason why he's so rich. And it's because they have a lot of best practices that we can take advantage of for our businesses. So let's do it. So in addition to having these best practices that just work quantitatively, customers are kind of used to getting certain things from an online shopping experience or an online learning experience because Amazon trained them to. So we want to make sure that we're doing those sort of little things that Amazon has trained shoppers to look for. And a couple of them are right here. We want to incorporate testimonials and reviews. These are amazing for your business. I don't care what business you're in, just to have someone say something, even if you said it yourself on your About Us page, to put it in quotes and have an actual customer saying it has so much more credibility because that's a third party telling people how awesome you are. They can be really great places to get your keywords into, you know, if you have a testimonial where someone happens to say, you know, I've always been looking for the best tiramisu in Georgetown, then there's some more keywords for free. And then the other thing that we can do that Amazon does, actually West Elm has been doing this for a really long time too, is embed your social media feed onto your website. This is no effort at all, super simple. If you have a website builder like Squarespace or Wix or WordPress, it's built in, you can just add it. You don't have to post every photo from Instagram, for example, on your website separately. All we're talking about here is what's in this screenshot. So South Block has their social media feed embedded. So anything that they post on Instagram automatically appears here on their website. This is a great way to add color to your website. Look at all of their logos that they got in here, which is amazing. All of your branding in one place, and it just automatically updates. If you ever want something to be on your social feed but not on your website, it allows you to edit that down as well. But for the most part, I think that if you have it on your social feed, it's okay on your website too. So a lot of times people will put this at the bottom. It not only adds that color and those sort of brand moments, but they do sort of act like testimonials too, because it's showing people that love your product. So that's something else I would do for sure. So the last thing, I think this is the last thing. Yeah, the last thing for Learn is, if it's appropriate, blogs are still really important. Now, don't be scared because I know blogs can take a lot of time. I'm not saying hire someone to manage a blog for you, and I'm not saying force blog content if it doesn't make sense. If it does make sense, just know that people still read blogs. They don't have to be long. They could just be little paragraphs that are super image heavy. But here's why they're so amazing and why I always recommend them. First of all, you can put your keywords in your blog post. Helps your website come up on Google a lot more often. You can take that blog post from your website and you can post it everywhere, guys. You can post that blog post on Pinterest with an image that links back to your website. You can email your blog post to your email list and say, hey, I just shared this content on my website. I thought you'd find it interesting. There's a lot of things you can do with that sort of just written blog post that is really valuable and lets you spend the hour, but really reap the benefits all over the place. Pinterest is a really great sort of partner for your blog. Pinterest makes a lot of sense if you have a visually beautiful product, like a wedding gown, for example. It makes a lot of sense. For some restaurants, gifting, absolutely be on Pinterest, please. But here's how you can use blogs on Pinterest. So for example, in the screenshot, I searched for wedding gown trends for 2020. Let's pretend I'm planning a wedding and I want to know what the trends are. This image of sort of the gown in the middle with the girl with the sort of faux bouffant in the red dress there, the cream and copper dress, that's a blog post that a business called Green Wedding Shoes shared on their website. Their blog post was titled, Our Favorite 2020 Wedding Dress Trends. And when I click that, I could go to their website and read the blog post, or I can buy this dress through Pinterest. Pinterest allows that functionality now. That's if you want to get into the whole online retail stuff. You don't have to. you can just have your blog post floating here with an image of one of the dresses you carry. That takes people straight to your website. I love Pinterest. The other thing we'll talk about in a moment for Pinterest is it's really great for longer shopping cycle purchases. You search for a wedding dress for months and months. That's a long shopping cycle. You take these images and you pin them to a wedding board. Gifting, birthday parties, you plan those things for a long time. So anything like that, I would definitely be on Pinterest. So in this learn phase, the sort of how do I learn more about your business phase, how do I know if what I'm doing, the business owner, is actually working? First, your website bounce rate decreases. Website bounces are people that find your website and then they go, ugh, and they leave right away. They bounce, they're gone. So the fewer people that sort of leave right away, the better. That means that what we're showing them on our website in our content is keeping them interested in digging through it. Website page views increase. So they land on your home page. Do they go to your menu and then about? Or do they land on your home page and read it for a little while and then leave? The more pages we can get them to visit, the more that we know that what we're doing is working. And lastly, in social, we do notice more of our posts are getting shared. So if we are, for example, in Pinterest, sharing that wedding gown blog post, we'll see that start getting shared with more and more people, which means that we sort of hit the nail on the head with that type of content, what they're searching for, the image was really resonating, and we'll notice that that's being shared more and more often too. Next up is our invest stage. We're almost done, hang in there, halfway. So when someone has researched, first they find you and discover, then they research and learn all about you and learn, they're ready to make some kind of investment. So online, this is where it really comes down to sort of setting up your own strategy, what you want people to do online. Some of you might have online sales already, and invest means you want an online conversion. For others of you, an investment might just be a time investment and they sign up for your email list. It really depends on your type of business. So if you have questions about that, shoot me an email. I'm happy to talk through all of that with you. But overall, they're investing something. They're giving something. So here's where we need to make it super easy for them, especially if that something is their money, because we need sales. This is sort of everything I just talked to, but just for example, mental investments, energetic investments, those could be anything from ordering takeout or delivery on your website, picking it up in person, signing up for a personal shopping appointment, getting emails from you, et cetera, et cetera. For a lot of the purposes of the rest of this deck though, I had to sort of pick one of them. So let's call an investment a purchase. Let's call it a sale, okay? So first, how do we help them invest? They want to, we're not selling them. They want to invest. How can we make it really easy? I have a Domino's screenshot here. Please do not attempt Domino's branding at home. They are their own thing. I'm not suggesting that this is a beautiful website or that it's functional for the small business space. It's here for a very specific purpose. And that is to show you how easy Domino's has made it to convert. So remember a few slides back where I said, you know, you don't want more than 2 clicks for someone to invest. I don't want them to have to click more than twice to sign up for an email or to make a purchase. Domino's has it all done in 1 click here. At the top, you can see start your order. You can select delivery or you can select carryout. That's 1 click investment. At the bottom, they have that little want more deals button. You can sign up for SMS alerts and receive coupons. 1 click to sign up. That's how easy we want to make it. And again, you're not putting it, throwing it in people's faces. You're not sort of shoving it down their throats. Remember that this is the customer that wants to invest. Make it really, really easy. You're just giving them what they want. So I would say test your website. Actually go to those MVP pages. Go to home, go to menu, go to about. How many clicks does it take to a conversion? If I ran a restaurant, I think it would be really, really important to have a book a reservation button on my menu page. Not only do I know that menu is the 2nd most visited page after home, but I know that after viewing the menu, they're either going to go to about or they're going to leave. So I want to give them an opportunity at the bottom of my menu page and probably at the top, to be honest, to book a reservation. Go to OpenTable, however you handle your reservations. Super simple. And then, yeah, just, you know, depending on what your conversion type is, if it's signing up for your emails, which can be really valuable, make sure that those are all throughout your website. I have it at the bottom of every single page, for example. Email. Use your email list. I hope you are all collecting emails. This is one of the sort of older school marketing tactics, but it works so well. And I think marketers are really surprised to continually learn just how valuable email is. This allows for you to tell your story in whatever way you need to for all different customers. You know that they're sort of in that invest stage because they're signing up. They want your emails. That's a really valuable action that they're taking towards you. An interesting stat in here, 61% of your shoppers enjoy receiving promotional emails weekly, and 28% want them to come even more frequently. So this is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of they want your content. Never be afraid to give it to them. They really want to hear from you, some of them even more often. I think, you know, the disclaimer is make sure that it's valuable and you're not just bombing people with coupons, but tell your story, give them information. If your email subscribers are sort of in that love phase, give them the behind the scenes content, give them stories about the products, ask them for input. And if they're in the learning phase when they sign up, give them your menu, give them all those things that they sort of want to learn more about you. Email has a really great ROI in some industries, up to 4,400%. So this is just a reminder that it is really, really valuable. I personally don't get enough emails, even when I sign up at a lot of shops that I love. They don't email me, and I really wish they did. Whereas on social, I need to go to their account, follow their account, and then hope that the Instagram algorithm gives me their photos. Email is hitting my inbox. Maybe it goes to the promotions tab of my Gmail inbox, but it's coming straight to me. You know, it's a really great way to get in front of your customers without asking them to go through all those additional steps. So use email. Collect email addresses throughout your website. Like I said, I have a form on every single page. Sign up for my newsletter. You can test out different copy. So you could try, you know, sign up for VIP discounts, or sign up to stay up to date with what we're doing, or sign up for special events, whatever makes sort of sense for you. If you don't have an email platform, MailChimp is a great one. It's really simple. It's a lot like Squarespace, where you just sort of drag images and drag copy and then hit send and send it out. Super low cost. All the designs are already done for you. So I do recommend that one. There's some other great ones too. And then of course, if you have promotions going on, make sure you're emailing your subscribers about it. My little tip for email is people are 10% more likely to open your email if you personalize the subject line with their name. You can think if this is true for you, but ultimately in the subject line, if something says, Bridget, we miss you, come into our store this weekend, I'm much more likely to open it if it says that versus we miss you. Even if sort of consciously I know that it's just auto-populating with everyone's names, I still see my name, and people really love their own name and they have sort of an emotional connection to it. So I would use that for sure. Discounts. Discounts is sensitive because when people are in this sort of invest stage, sometimes running a discount or an incentive is sort of the thing that gets them over the edge and allows them to really make that purchase or invest. But I don't want you to do this all the time. This is sort of my business strategy side speaking, because we never want to train people to expect discounts from us. And especially in times like this, where we're making up for a lack of foot traffic, we're trying to gain more sales per square foot. We don't want our customers to start to rely on discounts. I would much rather you tell a really authentic story, get that emotional connection from your customer, and then sell them that way. However, I do realize that sometimes we need to do discounts when they make sense and when we've strategically planned them into our business. So here's some ways to do it. For example, emails. Sign up for our email list and receive 10% off your meal any Tuesday or Wednesday. So in this example, I'm kind of thinking about what the slow days in my restaurant are. Days where I'm not getting that foot traffic anyway, you know, that's just tables that are sitting. I'm giving a small nominal discount just to get people over the edge. And the reason for that is because, remember, they're in the invest stage. They want to come in. They want to make that purchase. They want to sign up. So we don't need a ton. This doesn't need to be 50% off. Like, they want to come in. And you're collecting their email address. So that's sort of a double whammy there, where you're getting business on a Tuesday or Wednesday that you wouldn't have otherwise, and you're getting an email so that you can make up that ROI later. You're giving them 10% now, but when they get to the love phase and they're telling all their friends about your restaurant, you're gonna make that 10% up super fast, okay? Scarcity works too, though. It doesn't have to be 10% off. This Instagram post, there's a pizza shop in San Diego that I love called Tribute, and they always shop from the farmer's market, amazing pizzas. Their social post says, I know at least a few dozen of you guys have been waiting for this, blah, 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 about the pizza, today only, and that's it, you know? And he gets tons of comments about people that are like, I am coming in for this pizza, it looks amazing, and it's just the fact that it's only for today only, you know? People like that specialness, and depending on, again, the type of business that you're running, that can be a really great way to not offer a discount, but to really utilize that scarcity method. Retailers, a lot of you know that you use scarcity a lot just in merchandising, having 1 or 2 sizes on the floor where you might have more in back stock. That works in this sense as well. So really lean on those sort of tried and true methods. And then the research I wanted to share with you here is that we do know that consumers actually place very low value on discounting after this whole COVID thing. I've been studying a lot about, you know, what consumers will want to see in restaurants and in retail spaces. Because if I were a small business owner with a retail space, I would be wondering, like, do they want to see hand sanitizer at the entry of my shop, or do they want to see table toppers that say this table has been cleaned, or do I just do it all? A lot of that is the research that I'm compiling, and actually Rachel and I have been talking about potentially doing like a more in-depth boot camp where we can dig into that kind of stuff, like that business strategy. So let her know if you're interested in learning more of that stuff. But for our purposes here, what I really wanted to communicate is that people are not going to be looking for discounts. This is different. People want stimulus from the government right now. They want support, but they're not necessarily, as shoppers, looking for businesses to discount. And a big reason is because they know that businesses have been hit really hard. So don't feel like you need to offer 25, 35, 40% off anything right now. That's not what your shoppers want. So invest. This is that sort of critical moment where they're either making the purchase or they're not. How do we know if all of these things we just talked about are working? We will see our sales go up, or whatever that conversion metric is that you have sort of decided. Maybe it's email signups. We'll see those go up. We'll see our revenue go up. So not just the number of sales, but we will see our revenue go up a little bit. And then also our average order value, our AOV increases. That's because a person that is on your website that maybe was going to buy a small meal for themselves to pick up later in store, maybe your efforts caused them to add on a free cupcake as well. So that's where it's sort of like moving from like a $15 AOV up to an $18 is really going to show you that what you're doing in that invest stage is working. And you can test out different things and see like what works best for your customer. But that's a really good way to sort of gauge. And lastly is my favorite. This is the love stage. This is support, you could think of it. This is advocacy, this is loyalty. This is someone who has bought from you or has invested time in some way and wants to tell the world about you. These are our most valuable, treasured customers, and we really need to take good care of them. So how do we do it? Steps 1 through 3 through 10,000 million are share more of your story with them. I know that this sounds a little bit, flowery, a little bit brandy of me, but I just cannot emphasize enough how much people want to hear stories of small businesses. We cannot get enough of it. There's series on TV about this. You have to tell your story. Even if, you're not a person that wants to be in the limelight yourself, talk about your employees, talk about how you make what you make. Take Instagram stories behind the scenes. When people are in this love phase, they will get so excited to see what you're doing. They'll start sharing your posts. They'll say, I love the jewelry that this person makes. Look at the way she makes it. They'll tell people, this is where I got those earrings. I had no idea that the shells in those earrings were sourced from Maryland. It's just, there's so much content here that people want, and they really want to support you. And again, this is our opportunity from a business sense to make back any investment, any monetary investment that we made earlier. So we really need these people in the love phase we need to give them the content. We need to take care of them so that they come back to our stores, because as we know, it costs less to keep a customer than it costs to gain a customer. Love is where it all happens. This is the magic. This screenshot is another client of mine called Boochcraft. It's a San Diego kombucha making brand. This is how simple it is though. They hired a photographer. Maybe someone took this on their smartphone, who knows, but they just took a picture of someone making the kombucha and they posted it. They took it a step above and beyond though, and they said, a new flavor is on the way. Any guesses? Comment below. So this is not only sharing what's happening behind the scenes, but it's asking our audience to guess what we're making. They just as easily could have said, what flavor do you all want to see? And then suddenly you're doing market research, and I will give you a huge round of applause if you do that. But there's all different kinds of things that you can do on social around this sort of love phase. And with that in mind, I did want to talk about social media. Let's see, is this the overwhelming? This is the overwhelming slide. Don't feel like you need to write this down. You will get this in your inbox. And I'm not going to read it all to you, don't worry. But I wanted you to have one snapshot of all of the platforms and sort of what to post where for whom. If you have really specific niche business, let me know and I can sort of provide a recommendation for you around what platforms to be on. But overall, I wouldn't be on more than like 2 or 3. You can have profiles on them, but I wouldn't try and make content for every single one of these or post everything on every single one. That's too much, you guys. So overall, be on Facebook, have that Facebook account like we talked about. Everyone is on Facebook of every age. Facebook's really great for special events. It's really great for local searches too. People will use Facebook a lot like they use Google and type in best bike trails in DC, and then businesses will come up that way. And then Facebook's also great for just cross-posting content. If you write a blog post, share it on Facebook. Twitter is super similar to Facebook, but younger audiences there, interestingly. Twitter's great for customer service. This is one of those places where people may be talking about your business on Twitter, even if you're not engaging with them. So check it out every once in a while. If people are tweeting at you about loving your product or something you could do better, respond to them or have your customer service people respond. I wouldn't spend too much time here though. Pinterest is the dark horse that I love so much. I wish more small businesses used it. Like we said, businesses with longer shopping cycles, like wedding gowns that you shop for months, are great here. And then images are really great on Pinterest. Instagram is the other one that I think you will use the most often and where I think you'll have the most success, sort of. I say that regardless of industry. So Instagram users most of them are between the ages of 18 to 29, but don't worry too much about that if that's not your shopper. It's sort of like Facebook where everyone is slowly getting on Instagram too. Instagram's great for those sort of tag a friend contests. Post a photo of your new product and then comment, tag a friend below, and both of you will win a free in-person shopping one-on-one consultation or whatever. It's really great for Instagram. And then Snapchat, I sort of put Snapchat and TikTok in this column. Don't spend any time there, guys. Don't worry about it. I mean, people are there. Maybe it makes sense if you're super niche, if you run a dance studio, maybe be on TikTok, which are those like short, quick little dancing videos. But the reason I don't recommend these is because they don't link directly to your website. And I want you to spend your time where people who are in that discover phase can go straight to your website, realize you exist, move into the learn phase, dig through your website. Snapchat and TikTok, they don't do that. So we're not into them. YouTube, this is another one that's really interesting for me because I don't ever use YouTube. I don't know if I'm the only one, but the data doesn't lie. So next to Google, YouTube is the second largest search engine, which blows my mind. What is really behind this is the fact that video is king right now, and YouTube is where video lives. YouTube's great for SEO. So if you are, again, like let's work smarter, not harder. If you're taking a bunch of stories for Instagram on your phone, which is just, you know, you click your profile photo and you record a story and then it lives there for a day, you can download all your stories, all of your videos into one long video, upload it to YouTube. Don't make any new content, don't spend any additional time, just take that story and upload it there and create a series out of it. You know, call it behind the scenes this week at so-and-so's retail shop. Anywhere that you can sort of create content and use it in different platforms is something I'm a big fan of. YouTube's also really great because people who watch videos are 64% more likely to make a purchase. So let's say you took all those Instagram stories, you downloaded them, you put them on YouTube, you can share that YouTube link on your website. So with all the same content, really no additional time, you can make a page on your website that says, check out what we did at my shop this week. And then Google will favor that page because videos are favored a lot in SEO. And then people will watch it. YouTube's really great too for learning how to use your product step by step. Here's the unboxing experience. Here's how to use, we used it for that face shields brand that I was showing you guys a few slides back. Step by step how to build one or put one on, things like that. So these are the platforms at a glance. Like I said, don't be on all, just take it for what it's worth and, you know, whatever makes sense for you. And then I also wanted to provide some social media tips, regardless of the platform that you're on. These are sort of tips and tricks that'll make your life easier. Aim for a smile, not for a sale. That is because, as we've said, people in the love phase where social media is really shining, they aren't looking to necessarily buy from you on social right that moment. What we want to do is really engage that loyalty and that customer advocacy so they tell other people. They will buy in the future. It's just going to happen more naturally. So don't use your social channels to really do the hard sell. Do it to tell your story and the interesting things about your business. Like the Boochcraft example, that kombucha, ask for feedback, ask for input. What do you think of this flavor? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What should we make next? Reveal your inner workings. Show them your process. Even if you think your process is boring, I promise you it's not. So show them what you do. Use great photography. This one I know can be tricky. Not all of us are photographers. I sure am not. But there's some tricks that we can do. So for example, the background of this slide, you can see the bread on it. Let's say I own a bakery. You can buy a slab of wood from Home Depot and use it to take all of your social media photos. So this person probably just has a slab of wood, or they have a really cool table in their restaurant. They sort of styled their bread on it with some wheat, and they took a top-down photo. You can use that same background again and again and again for all your different products. It creates consistency. It makes your social media feed start looking like you have a brand. You know, it's even better if that background has some of your brand logo colors in it, things like that. And it's just a really simple way to like not have to worry about styling your photo and, you know, what's in the background and moving things around. Like just quick, simple ways. Take one a day, save them for a rainy day. That said, I would invest in a photographer if you can. A photographer should cost you no more than $500 to $700 maybe. I might do that twice a year. The reason for that is because shoppers today, when they're online, they know if it's stock imagery. Like even this image that I chose here, you can kind of tell that I downloaded it online. I didn't style this myself in my kitchen. So people know that when you're using stock photography, plus if you run something like a restaurant, you want to make sure it's your own food. So I would invest in that photographer. I'd get someone really trusted, someone that's going to send you all of the photos high res, and someone that will edit them for you within that same amount. If they're asking for wildly more than this, to edit them down, and not cropping and things like that, but just like making the lighting look good and making them all consistent, you're probably overpaying. So I would stick around this amount and do it twice a year. If you're a restaurant with menus that change a lot more often, then you might need to do it more often. But this photography is really great for those longer term places, like on your website, the headers, on your menu, things like that. If you need free photos to get you there, you can't afford a photographer right now, here's some options. I love Unsplash. It's unsplash.com, I believe. Just Google it. It has really great photos that don't look super cheesy. You guys know those cheesy ones where, it's people smiling into the camera with like a white background, or something, like a white woman drinking clear water, and they're just horrible. But all of these ones are really authentic. They look real. They may as well be your own photos. Pexels, PicWizard, those are 3 great ones. And most of those are free. Unsplash is 100% free. You can download any and you can use them on your website for free. And then lastly, social media. Kind of talked about it with YouTube, but video is huge for social media. So video is great because it's a little bit more forgiving than a photo. Photos, you will feel like you need to style them and make them look really pretty, but video is much more organic. It's meant to be. It's okay if it's sloppy and messy, or if there's background noise, that's totally okay. Take quick videos, show how-to videos of your products and services, record customer testimonials. Those work the same way as a testimonial on your website. People love to hear real people, talking about your product. I keep saying, tell your story. So what do I mean by that? Talk about your company culture, talk about what's important to you, talk about your values, what you do in the community, talk about the history. Did your grandfather found this business? Have you always wanted to? Did you happen into this type of business? People want to hear that stuff. And then of course, highlight your product and service benefits is great for storytelling. So for example, if I had a sneaker store, I wouldn't necessarily spend a ton of time on videos about the features of this particular sneaker. I would talk about how the sneaker makes your life better, the benefit. I wouldn't talk about the water resistant rubber. I would talk about how such and such little girl can play in puddles now because of the water resistant rubber. Just a little bit more storytelling works really great on social. So how do we know if all of this storytelling in this love phase is working? There's some actual very real ways that we know. Repeat purchases and lifetime customer value will increase, and therefore our profit margin will increase. So that is, the people that have bought from us will continue to buy from us at a lower cost to us because we're not acquiring them brand new again. And that's where you see your profit margin start to grow. Word of mouth referrals increase. So people will start coming into your stores saying that they heard about you from someone that loves you. They saw someone wearing your earrings and they came in. That's a love moment. By the way, that's a person that you really want to get a video of, a testimonial, the person that's telling other people. And then your followers on social media will really increase here. This isn't the small uptick that you'll see in that discover phase with people sort of like bookmarking that you exist. This is followers that want to hear your story on social. And this is what I really want for you all, because that's where you're sharing your story. It's scary. You're showing behind the scenes and you're kind of like, I hope they like what they find. And you are going to find that people will start to follow you more, which is just so exciting and so freeing, because then you can sort of let your guard down a little bit, show more of who you are, and enjoy your business more, which we all want. Okay, we made it through the phases. I know those were big. Thank you for sticking in there. I wanted you to have this sample marketing plan, and I wanted to go through an exercise for you 3 times, 3 different audiences. These won't be perfectly fit to your businesses, but the thought is that you can fill these out on your own later You can give me a call and I can help you with it, whatever you need to be set up for success. But we're going to talk about who your audience is, what do they want right now, and how can you help them. So this is the template that essentially is a marketing plan. You know, I've done marketing plans that are 200 pages, and now I believe that this is a great digital marketing plan that is one page that will set you up for success. So let me move my screen here a little bit. There we go. So what you want to do on this slide, and we'll walk through a couple examples, is figure out who your audience is, or guess. Sometimes you're going to be guessing. I don't know who my audience is. I don't know who my shopper is, but I think you know some. Decide what they want right now, that particular person. What phase do I think they're in? And then depending on what phase you think they're in, you can fill out the section that applies. So what the heck am I talking about? Oop, there we go. Okay. Let's say that I run a restaurant and bar in Georgetown, okay? I'm gonna say, okay, my first audience is new students who are coming to Georgetown for school this fall. That's an audience, that's a type of shopper. So new students, they wanna discover that bars and restaurants exist. They don't know that I exist yet, they're brand new to the area, they're definitely discover. What can I do as a restaurant owner to help them discover me? I can update my website with keywords that they might be looking for. For example, students coming to Georgetown might be looking for best happy hour in Georgetown. That's a really easy one. I'm pretty sure they're going to be looking for that, but if you need a little bit more certainty, you can test that in Google Trends, that tool we looked at, and you can see if they're actually searching for it. And then maybe I also want to add some new photos to my Google listing, because we know that these students are going to be Googling best happy hour in Georgetown. Let's make sure that some of my photos come up of those awesome Moscow mules that I have, right? That's it, that's easy, right? Let's look at another one. Let's say I have a restaurant, it's not a bar, it's sit-down Italian. My audience is people who come in every single Sunday, but they always get the same thing. These are recurring customers every Sunday. Same check size though, they always bring the same friends. I love them, maybe I know their name, it's Tom and Betty, they always come in. For them, they, I would say, are in the love phase because of that every single Sunday piece. So what they want right now is to show even more love. So I wouldn't put that responsibility on them, I would put it on me, and I would say, what can I do to help Tom and Betty love my restaurant even more? So what we have down here is I can help them love us by doing a tag a friend promotion on Instagram. I put that because I know that this person's following me. They're in the love phase. They've found me. They're probably following me. They come in every Sunday. That's sort of your weekly joint. So they're definitely following me. So let's do a tag a friend to make Tom and Betty tell their friends about us. Let's send them an invite for a VIP dinner on a slow Wednesday night. Invite them in, maybe give them a free glass of wine because it's a Wednesday and you know those are seats that wouldn't otherwise be filled. And then when they come in, I'm gonna stop by their table to tell them a little bit of my story, which could be as simple as tell them about the market berries we just got, right? So you're sharing your story, you're engaging with them on social, and you are emailing them with your email marketing. This is how easy it can be. And then our last one here, this one's a little bit trickier, but let's say that I am a restaurant and my audience is this big group of people that have already dined with us. Let's say I have hundreds of customers that sort of fit this demographic. They've come in, let's say they're mostly women aged 25 to 35, but they usually come in just once or twice. Not once or twice a week, but just once or twice and then they don't come back, nothing too crazy. Like, I feel like a lot of us have this big customer base, so I think this one's important. So I would say that these guys are still in the investment phase. They want to invest. I wouldn't say that they're in love because they've come in once or twice, but then they never come back. They're not recurring. You could, you know, depending on the business, we could figure this out in more detail. But for me, I'm pretty sure that they're in the invest phase. I want them to come in and really make more of a commitment. So what can I do to help them invest? Let me move my little, there you are. I can help them invest by sending an email to follow up on their experience, ask them why they don't come back more often, ask them if there's anything we can do better. Like I said, this is probably a really big group of customers, so you'll probably get some really great responses. I can share my chef story on social media. So these people are probably between the invest and the love stage. We just need to sort of get them into love. So maybe we start sharing a little bit of our story with them, or chef story. And then I also want to update my website with the new summer menu with favorites from last year. So if they came in a couple times last year, why not look at what was working, update the website, make sure that that's not a PDF menu, and make sure that that's all updated, because they could still be sort of tiptoeing in that learn phase too. So you can see these are really super simplified, but I think that's really important that there's somewhere to start that doesn't feel wild and crazy. You don't have to do it all. You can try one of these and then change it out each month. These are great exercises too for your employees to help with, just to get them a little bit more involved in working on the business instead of in the business. I found that a lot of employees in small businesses, sales associates, whoever, social media managers, they love this stuff too. This is all information that is really valuable to anybody that works in your business. So get help with this kind of thing if you want it. So the last thing I wanted to sort of say is, you play a valuable, irreplaceable role in your community. Marketing, again, is simply sharing more of what you're already doing. This is that mindset shift that we talked about in the beginning. The more that you can remember how valuable you are and how much people like me want to shop with your businesses and want to learn your stories, the easier all of this will be for you. And of course, thank you for being here and for all that you do. So on that note, I want to pause. I want to take questions, comments. Know that, like I said, you can always reach out to me to sort of talk about really specific business things for your business. But if you have any questions at all about the content here or anything we reviewed, I would be happy to open the floor right now.
Bridget, please, may we have your email address?
Yes, absolutely. I will email it out as well, but it is Bridget, BRIDGET.
Yes.
At reaganstrategy.com.
Small cap?
What's that?
I said small cap?
Yes. Yep.
And strategies or strategy?
Strategy.
Thank you.
Singular. Absolutely.
Can we talk? I have a question.
Please, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay, and I didn't know whether people can see me or not. You talk about, I was confused about one thing when you asked about the page, when you talked about putting things in the page titles at, on a Squarespace site. But we're working on putting together a Squarespace site, and by page, that doesn't necessarily mean the pages that show in the thing across the top, does it?
So,
or does it? I mean, the FAQ, that was what I wanted to know, was where do we put an FAQ? And if we put in an FAQ, does that mean we have to have a FAQ listed in the navigation at the top of the page?
So I believe I know exactly what you're talking about. So when I say page titles in terms of the SEO benefits, or like where you want to put those keywords, right, I'm talking more in Squarespace. There's a line that actually says page title serves up in SEO, something like that. I'm not talking about the heading on your page. Like if you have a great big heading that says menu, that's not where I mean. There's a separate little section in the page settings where you can put things like best fall menu in Georgetown, for example.
So these are pages that aren't our navigation pages, but they're, I think I'm recalling, I can't turn around and look at my Squarespace layout right now.
I would do it in all page titles, in those top of the browser tab titles, regardless of whether they're in your navigation or not. So for example, my privacy page on my website isn't in my navigation. I don't want people to look at it all the time, but it is in my footer. You can still update the page titles on your footer pages as well. They're just not linked in your nav.
I see. Okay, okay. And if we did things like our blog had questions in it, like what is a hand-pulled print, would that end up showing up on, you're talking about making an expert, would that show up then on the SEO?
Yes, it would. As long as as long as you're doing it just in text and not some kind of crazy, don't upload images with that text in them.
Right.
100%. That's a great thing to do. Yep.
Okay. So that would be a good thing that might be a very good thing for us to be putting on our blog.
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
Okay.
Bridget, I
Okay.
have a question.
Yeah. Hi, Rachel.
Hey, when businesses are looking for photographers that can take these biannual pictures, what are like the search terms? Do you have recommendations for people in DC that could do this for this price point? Like, I feel like that's something I know Savar is looking for. She's on this call. I mean, I'm sure others would be interested too, but that's a huge challenge, is trying, like, you're not looking for a wedding photographer, you're looking for a photographer, but how do you identify who does this kind of work?
That is such a good question. Something I would love to do, actually, because you're right. I think wedding photographers are not the ones you're going to want to go to for this. They're expecting much bigger bills. But I would actually take advantage of the university and all of the creatives that we have there. The problem there, though, is you need to make sure that their portfolios are pretty decent. So something I can do right after this call in sort of our follow-up email is source through a couple of those photographers that I know locally that have really good portfolios. And I'll send a list. If you guys think that would be a valuable resource, I'd be happy to do that.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I have a website with Wix right now. I have a consignment shop, and it gives all the information about the store, nice pictures, but it's not a selling website.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm in process of getting online store with Shopify.
Mm.
So can I combine Shopify to my current website?
So is your Shopify shop just handling the sales piece, or are you also putting like an about page over there on Shopify?
Just selling, because I don't like the, so my website is prettychicdc.com at Wix, which people search on that. But with Shopify, it's more complicated website for people to remember.
Yeah, so I would actually think about even changing your primary URL. It's something we didn't get into too much today, but in terms of your URL, like mine here is Reagan.agency, it is pretty important to have that be simple and memorable. People today marketers are not even including websites that much anymore on things like billboards, out-of-home advertising, even some print advertising, because the consumer doesn't need to see a website anymore. They just type it in Google. So if you give them something that's a little bit too complicated, I'm afraid that they won't remember it enough to put it in Google. But to answer your question more, I would definitely not create a new URL. That'll create problems down the road. It'll create problems for search engines, because not only is it two websites with similar content on them, even if one is for primarily sales and one is for more of like your normal stuff about us, all that. Google sometimes will find two websites that maybe have your name on them, your brand name, and it will downgrade those results because it'll think that they're fake. It'll think one is fake. It doesn't like that. It likes things to be really clean and concise and all put together, which actually I think is better for a business owner too. So let me look into if you can integrate your Shopify functionality into Wix for you. That I don't know off the top of my head, but we should keep it as seamless as possible.
Okay.
Primarily because I don't want you to have to manage two separate websites either. That's a lot. One is enough,
Yeah. Okay.
Let me look into that for you.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Savar,
Yes.
I think Rachel also recommended it. I did the webinar of the Look Think that the bid has been sponsoring, and they've set up a Facebook group for small businesses, and you might find it helpful to check into that. I mean, I think Bridget's done a terrific job today, and so I'm sure her advice is real good. But another source of advice that between the bid and Rachel and somebody have been sending us all these things. that workshop. I think it was the bids, the Look Think workshop. They've got one more coming up, but if you join there, and it seemed to me they focus quite a bit on Shopify, so that might be helpful.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bridget, actually, I have a question, which is I've got 2 websites right now personally, and but what we're doing, but we can also port we can move have a URL redirect to another website, right?
Yes.
I mean, not 2 at once, but for the gallery, what we're doing is we're creating the Squarespace website, and we're going to shut down the old website and just move our URL, redirect it to our new website. But I personally, as an artist, have screwed up along the way and have both a WordPress blog and a Squarespace website. But I think because I have my URL, which is registered at GoDaddy, because I mean, why not have as many companies involved as possible? Right now I have that one routing to the WordPress site, but I've concluded that the Squarespace site is really going to be better over the long haul. So I thought I'd reroute that to Squarespace, but then I also have a domain registered at Squarespace for that site, but I can have more than one. I mean, I can have more than one URL address routed to the same site.
You can.
For other places, can I?
So if you have a URL that is dcphotography.com, and all it does is redirect you to your true website, which is, let's say, like dcphotography such and such.co. That first one is called a vanity URL. So if it's set up as a vanity URL, then yes, you can have as many redirecting to your true website as possible. What I want to make sure, though, is that you're not paying for true legitimate URLs, that you're paying for like hosting and things like that, where you're actually not even using them that much, you know?
Yeah, well, I originally registered at GoDaddy, and then I set up the first website, which was at WordPress. And so I had the GoDaddy, and the WordPress, of course, was like Sally at WordPress, because it's WordPress.com. So then I had the Sally.com get rerouted to the WordPress blog. Then I set up the Squarespace blog and registered sallyphotographer.com. So through Squarespace. So I was thinking I could just go to GoDaddy and reroute the Sally.com to the Squarespace site, which is what I really wanted, where I wanted to go.
Yeah, I think that sounds smart. I would reroute everything, redirect everything you can to your primary websites. Make sure you're only updating the one, you're only optimizing the one. But I would start slowly shutting down those other ones, you know, depending on.
I only have the one at WordPress. I've got several domain names that I never set up websites for that I should probably just sell or something. I sound totally incompetent about all this.
No.
But it's like this kind of stuff accrues over the years, you know, kind of like extra dishes in your cupboard, you know. It sort of all happened.
But it feels so good when you clean it up, you know, when you purge all those URLs and everything is in one place, and you can like, that's really freeing too, to get there. But yeah, for now, as long as they're just redirecting to your website, and you don't have unique content anywhere, like they're just vanity URLs that send you to the right place, then you should be good.
Yeah. And I've been bad about updating things anyway, so I really need to have it in one place to pay attention to. I didn't want to monopolize the floor. I don't know if other people have things they wanted to say. Forgive me if I'm being too chatty.
It's okay. You guys just had to listen to me talk for who knows how long, so I appreciate it. Any other questions out there?
No question. I just have to go. So thank you very much. It was
Absolutely.
really wonderful.
Good. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, I finally got on.
All right. Any others? Nope. Okay. Well,
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. Like we said, we will send you all of this information, and I have my couple things that I definitely want to follow up on to send along as well. And we'll have the recording for you. So don't hesitate to reach out if I can be helpful in any other way.
Okay.
I'm here, I'm local, I'm rooting for you all.
Very
Thank
much.
you.
Very helpful. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you guys. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, thanks, Bridget, so much.
Sure thing.
Yes. Thank you, Rachel.